Sydney was gone. I was like, it's catching up with Sydney. Now she's gone.
No, I'm back.
Oh, this reminds me of the episode from last week from Brilliant Swag. We had this whole pickup line episode, and then only Jordan had showed up. So we just winged it. And then I started calling the guys on the phone and catching them off guard. So that was pretty funny. And so we had a guest today, and we will see that guest in a couple of weeks. She got tied up, but that's okay. We're going to talk about all things important, but we're going to find this time to have an open conversation. I'm here with the wonderful, amazing, and beautiful Taisha. And I'm here with the wonderful and beautiful and talented Sydney, who's been MIA for a little bit, but
I'm sorry.
It's just, catching up with the ladies, because we normally have topics and we talk about specific things, but what's going on with everyone right now that we're in April and it's like summer is almost here? Like, what the hell?
Well, summer done hit Florida. Okay. It's hot today. It was hot. And I'm still
opposite.
I almost said, how hot was it?
It was just muggy today. I felt like it was. I guess it's not the hottest, so I can't complain. Everybody living in Florida right now is like, really?
And then Taisha, you're in Colorado, right?
Yes. And it warmed up last week, and then now today we had snow. So I'm like, I don't get it. I'm ready for summer though.
Why do I always think you're in Arizona for some reason?
I don't know. I've never even been to Arizona.
Oh, it's because I'm always lumping you in with Tori and Jade for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why.
With Darvinique. Me and Darvinique were in Houston together.
That's right. Darvinique's working tonight. Oh, we got such a busy crew. Sydney, what's been going on in your world? Uh-oh.
A lot. Well, you kind of already know. Dog emergencies and housing, shopping, y'all buying a house.
Okay. Oh, listen.
The housing market.
That experience.
Right now.
Oh, wait. Well, here's the thing. Because, we talked about gender roles in our crossover, last week. And traditionally, who handles the buying the house situation?
I feel like we're pretty even on this one.
Yeah.
Like we're both like really, it's pretty even.
No, not for you. I'm saying traditionally in society, who's that always used to fall on?
The men?
Yes, the man. Because
the wife picks the house, the man funds it.
Negotiates, because this is the reason why I love the internet, because can you imagine all the women who had to, and I'm talking about, in the past, had to car in or deal with the housing situation, and husband was deployed or out of town and they got to deal with it. And guys knew they could scam them out of things because they were talking about things they had no idea what they were talking about. Can you imagine those days?
Yeah. I mean, I can also think about it like when my wife's mom was even married, she wasn't even allowed to have her own bank account then. Think about that. Like they weren't even allowed to have bank accounts. Like it was and that wasn't even that long ago. There's people alive still from that. So yeah, that's another thing. It was kind of like, did it already set that standard? And then I don't know.
You feel like a realtor looks at it the same way, like, because that relationship with the realtor can be important. And if you have people who are like stuck in their traditional ways or their ways, that can be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
You haven't had to experience any of that, have you?
No, I have to say, guys, and I'm about to give a shout out to my real estate agent. We go through Sam Mendy, Duncan Dua, y'all. He's amazing. I have no issues with our real estate agent. He's phenomenal. And even when we fall in love with a house and like they take another offer, but he's like skeptical of that offer, he just is like bugs them every day. Don't forget about my clients, because when this falls through, they'll be ready. You know what I mean? He's really good. He's amazing. I got to give him a shout out. So we haven't had any issues with that. Excellent. It's just the legalities. For an instance, one house we really, 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 really wanted, and they were going to go with us. They couldn't do our loan because some things in the contract got messed up. So they had to wait 8 weeks to close, because they wouldn't take FHA loans, and it had to be conventional unless, so there was a sticky thing with that. So it's just like a lot of technical stuff. And then you're competing with offers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like,
I got one for Taisha. I want to ask you this, because I'm going to ask Taisha a single mother moving question, but what's the research that goes into the neighborhood based on, is that something you look at because you're not in a traditional, what we call traditional relationship? Are you looking at that aspect of neighborhoods? Does that even equate into anything?
Not for me, really. And first, let me.
No, not you. No, Sydney. Sydney's not traditional. Not you.
Wait, sorry. I thought you said Taisha too.
I said I have a question that I'm going to ask Taisha about being a single mom and moving. But first, Sydney. So I probably said it too fast.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Taisha was like, wait a minute.
Okay, what was the question again? Does the neighborhood matter, basically?
Yeah. Do you look into any of that, knowing that you're not in a traditional relationship? Like, what's the neighborhood? What's the temperature of the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. So my mom lives in Spring Hill. Okay. And I like Spring Hill, Florida, which at this point we live in Tampa, and it's, I want to move to a little more quiet in neighborhood. Like, I'm looking for that really nice neighborhood. And so that is big. But in terms of that, yes, I refuse to live in like Port Richey, Hudson, Holiday. Like, for instance, when I lived in Port Richey, my next door neighbors had a painted Confederate flag as their garage. So, there's certain areas that I try to avoid. My mom lives in Spring Hill. I know there's still stuff around there like that, but where she is, that area where we're like mainly looking, people got pride flags and all sorts of things up. And so, so it's kind of like we feel more comfortable there. But yes, that takes a huge role. That's why ultimately we love St. Pete. But St. Pete's $1.3 million for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. So
it's getting crazy out here.
Yeah.
Getting crazy out here. Taisha, as a single mom, I know moving, there's a lot of factors you have to consider. I'm single. I don't have kids. So when I move, it's all about my indulgences. What do I want to be near? What are those things that you have to consider when moving, being a single mom?
Okay, so let me clear the air. I'm not a single mother. I'm a single woman. So, and I will explain, because I've been like chewed out for this. So a single mother is someone who doesn't have a father present to help with the child. Gotcha. My son's father is very present. So no, I'm not a single mother. I'm just a single woman, and we co-parent well. A lot of factors that I have. First of all, moving back to Denver was like the hardest, but it was like I have family here. So it was very helpful with them as well. And then my mom, she's very like kind of bougie. So she's very picky on where she wants to stay, where she wants her grandchild to stay, because that's like her child too. And so, so that was easy. That was easy to move. And then the only tough thing was my son's father bought a house. And so it's kind of like I have to either find something that's close to him or somewhere that's close to my parents. So that was the real struggle, and it's still kind of a struggle, but his dad helped me out a lot. So we decided to have him go with him and enroll in a school closer to him. And so that made it easier. So then he'll come with me on weekends, and then I'll have him for like the summer and the spring. And then he'll split time with his dad. But that works better for us. But yeah, it does matter, the neighborhoods. I want to make sure that he's going to be surrounded by people that are going to be a good influence on him. The areas that I grew up in, I wouldn't want my child to grow up in. And because I can make that decision, I went ahead and did that. And so he's nowhere near where I grew up. And I am A-okay with that.
You know what? First of all, thank you for that clarification, because I'm going to tell some of my female friends who have very active fathers who still call themselves single parents. You know, I've never thought of it that way, and that makes sense. And I love that you guys co-parent like adults should, right?
Thank you. I was going to say that.
You've mentioned that before. So when you are determining schools and things like that, you guys have an open dialogue about it's not just this is where I want my son to go.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. No. I was just gonna comment. I think it's amazing you guys co-parent. You guys think about the kid. Like you think about your son. It's not about anything else. Who cares about us? It's about our baby. Like I love that.
I think it was Judge Judy. She said active fathers are not second-class citizens. You know, because there are people, and that's not just women, there are men who do that, where it's not even an issue. The other parent's not drama, but they're like, well, I have the child, I'm making all the decisions.
About the child.
You know, and and then turn around and ask for help. Why don't you have this handled?
I'm okay with him being active. Even I get, honestly, I get the whole issues with, single mothers going through, the heartaches, and then they're like, they don't want anything to do with the dad, or even vice versa. Sometimes the dads are like that too and don't want anything to do with the moms. And it causes a lot of, bad vibes and negative energy for that child to grow up into. And so that's one thing that me and my son's father definitely agreed on, is that no matter what we go through, whatever happens between us, we're never going to let it affect our child. We're always going to make sure we put our child first. And it's hard because we got them emotions. And it's just like, sometimes I want to wring his neck, but we never let my son, he never sees us argue. We don't really argue like that anyway, but we make sure that our child does not have any involvement in any of that.
That also gets better with time though, right? As it, it's different when the child is 3 as opposed to when the child's going to be 13 and when the child's going to be 23, right? Depending on that. So it's like get started early, right? You got to get started early with, and I think that's amazing.
Very mature.
I didn't, because I don't have kids, but when my nephew was 14, he was given his mom's problems, so she lets him move in with me, because people always said, you would make a good father. And I said, well, I'm spoiled now. And I found out I was spoiled because I'd get off work and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go buy Madden. It came out today and it's like, shit, he needs cleats. And then I had moved being in the Army, you move a lot. So finally I'm out of the Army, and it's like, I got the place I want to live. I'm fine with living in an apartment. I was in that apartment for 2 years. I'm like, I'm not moving anymore. Then I got him, and it's like the school next to my apartment sucks. But they had a charter school next to my apartment. You literally can walk across the street, but it only went up to a certain grade. So once he graduated, I'm like, I got to move because I want him to go to this school. So then I ended up buying my first house, just for him. And I'm like, this is a lot of sacrifice. And who signs up for this?
I gotta say, big shout out to that very active aunts and uncles, because it takes a village. Like, just even though I have my son's father, it's hard. It is hard for the both of us. So being able to have grandparents and aunts and uncles, the best. My sister is like, she's always been that mother role for me because she was the older sister. And so now it's like, that's her other baby too. So she's always taking over and, helping out whenever I need. So yeah, it definitely takes a village, and aunts and uncles, I feel like they're slept on. They're the best, especially the ones that don't have kids. They're the best.
You've got a kid. You had a kid emergency. Listen, I have grown to the fact that I do see the value of people whose pets are part of the family. People go, it's a dog, it's a cat. And in my adult life, I never had pets. I had pets, when I was younger. But in my adult life, and you look at it different when you're a kid, right? In my adult life, when I finally got my roommate and she had 2 cats, and I was like, cats. But those cats were her 2 children, and she was amazing. And it just, when things finally happened, I felt the same pain that she felt. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like this about a cat. And so I consider it the same, because you have to do things that are conducive for you and your pet, which is part of your family. Yeah. Am I wrong in that?
No, because that's my life. I have my Great Dane and my cat, and they're They're our babies. We live, breathe, and eat and sleep in. Like whatever they need. Like I said, we're trying to buy a house and you need $6,000 surgery. Okay, you get $6,000 surgery, of course. And then boom, it puts a damper in it, but you sacrifice, I get people like moms would be like, it's not the same thing, but I guess it's the closest thing we can get if we don't have kids. You know what I mean?
And the reason why I decided was like, it's got the same thing because it's not like it's a plant. Plant's a living, breathing thing. Nobody comment. You know what I mean? You have this animal that's part of your family that has emotions and all of that. Another thing we talked about on Brilliant Swag, and I think you can appreciate the guys talking about this, was children and personalities. Jordan talked about he has 2 boys, and these parents that are still stuck in this, all of my children get treated the same and get the same reaction, just baffles me. And people act like children don't have personalities. They're their own individuals.
They have a lot of personality.
Yeah, they do. And they're the most honest beings. I love them.
And he's a single dad. Yeah, he's a single dad. So he talks about how the discipline is different between the 2 of them. The way he talks to them is different between the 2 of them. And it's just like, he gets it. And I love when I see that in a parent. Taisha, how are you with your parenting style?
Let me tell you. So honestly, with my son, it's really difficult because, I wanted to be the one to break generational curses. And not that like my parents were horrible parents. I love my parents. I'm, very thankful for the both of them. But there were just little things that I like knew as a child that probably shouldn't have happened to me as a child. Like for example, the arguing. I make sure that I don't do that in front of my child because it carried on to my adult life. And so one thing about me and my son is we have an open conversation. Like we talk about any and everything. I want him to make sure he's comfortable coming to me. His dad is a little more traditional. He's the guy toughing up, When it comes to me, I have that balance of, you're going to get all this love and affection. Yes, I give my child affection. And the open conversation is what is hard because I'm kind of like that. When my parents had me, it was like, you do what the parent says. You don't talk back. It is what it is. So with him, it's kind of like, he'll come to me and say, hey, Mom, I didn't like when you said this. And I'm like, part of me is like, I'm the adult, what I say goes. But then the other part is like, come on, let's talk about it. Let's figure out, how I can be better. Talking to him. Because sometimes I do, I kind of go off edge. So
because you're like, I'm not getting 2 or 3 children to figure it out. Because, they always say the first one is your practice child.
Yeah.
You're like, no, this might be it. But I think people don't understand the difference between talking back and a kid asking a question. There's a difference between why and, well, Mom, why do I have to do that? Like,
yeah. And they're learning, they're growing. They need to know.
Exactly. And they're learning how to properly respond. And I think, Taisha, you're just making a beautiful point. Like, and I think our generation, a lot of parents were like that. Like, I'm thinking like your parents, like, I remember mine being like, no, you do what the parent says, you're told. And even when you come back and have a conversation, you listen to them, you were wrong and you apologize for it.
Exactly.
But maybe there's 2 sides of the story and kids don't get enough credit for being actually intelligent little beings, like who actually process feelings too. And so when he's telling you, Mom, I didn't like how you said this to me, it should be our job as parents to listen to that and be like, you know what? That made you feel a certain way and you're validated for feeling that way.
Yeah, because you know what? You say, well, that happened because the hell I said so. And now what does he do? He's go to the room and he's steaming, I hate you. Like, and then that whole thing is going on. I just remember so many things I didn't learn because you'd ask a question like, well, why does this work this way? Because I said so. How am I learning?
Exactly. And,
and you from having a child, Taisha, tell me if I'm wrong or right in this. Because people always love to tell people who don't have children, well, you don't have children. I'm like, yeah, but I was a child. I was parented. I didn't forget that part, right? They'll say, well, they're too young to know this and that. And I always say, when a child comes to you and says something or ask a question, they're ready to have the conversation because they're already thinking about it.
Exactly.
or they've been exposed to it. So now you have a choice. Either you explain it or you leave it up to someone else to explain it.
Exactly. And I'll never do that. I'm always going to be the first. And that's why I love when he comes to me about stuff. And it's like, he's at that age where he's exploring his own body. And I remember being young and being at that age and not having anyone to talk to because it's uncomfortable. When you're a kid, you don't think about that you're not supposed to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's uncomfortable, but it's like, it's something that has to happen because I don't know what's going on at school. I don't know what they're telling him. I don't even know if they're educating them on that kind of stuff, which I understand if they're not, but that's up to me to go ahead and let him know, oh, this is what you're feeling. And this is why you're feeling like this. And so those uncomfortable conversations need to be had.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, but necessary, right?
Yes. Very
necessary.
It's crazy, John, because you say like, I used to be a kid. It's funny because I always tell people like when they say like, you're not a mom, I'm like, yeah, but I'm the second oldest of 15 kids.
Yeah.
I'm the second oldest, okay? And the youngest is 11. I think I had my fair share of kids growing up. Plus my dad passed away when I was 12. So we had to help my mom. You know what I mean? And I had baby brothers at the time. So, and it's funny because to this day, my mom says, my mom only has one grandbaby. One, y'all, with all these kids.
That's
one
crazy.
One grandbaby. And she's like, why don't more of you have kids? And I'm like, Mom, I think we got our kid fill growing up.
You know what, Sydney? You laugh. But I used to say that all the time when people go, why don't you have kids? I was like, well, my older sister has 4 and my youngest one has 5. I think I'm good.
And you know what, my best friends, like I'm auntie to their kids, and I do not think of them any less than my nephews and nieces. So it's like I have plenty of nephews and nieces. The rest of us are getting older and we're just like, no kids, only my sister. So yeah. And she's like, that's it, only one. And I'm like, Mom, I was saying to my mom, like, are you sad you don't have more grandbabies? She's like, I think I had enough kids. I love my one grandbaby. Honestly, if me and my wife had kids, we'll probably adopt. I'm adopted. We're all adopted. Like I would probably adopt, and probably not a baby, probably like 5 or older.
Well, don't, Sydney. I'm telling you, don't wait forever, because that's what I was gonna do when me and my wife we never got around to it for a whole bunch of different reasons. But after that, in my 30s, I kept talking about, well, I'll adopt. The next thing you know, I'm 40, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of, if I want to go somewhere next weekend, I can do it. You can't just drop your bags.
Yeah, you're right.
And just take off.
Although we did foster a 5-year-old this past year. And you're right. I got a little bit of that because it was hard at sometimes. I mean, I was up because she went to school an hour away, and I wasn't going to move her out of school because it was a temporary foster, right? So I had to drive her an hour every morning and then drive an hour and back. So that's 4 hours a day of driving. And I would have to get up at 4 a.m. to get her ready and out the door to get to school. And I'm like,
you want a grumpy puss.
You know what? I kind of tried to like enjoy the positive side of it. The only part was hard working from home when she was home. And I'm like, if you don't sit down for 5 seconds and let me get this done. So that was a little hard, but I enjoyed it. But also I get that where I'm like, man, can't wait to go back to sleeping in when I want. And I can't wait to go. Like, I'd have to be like, oh, it's midnight. I'm way past my bedtime. And normally I'm like, oh, it's 3 a.m.
When did you foster this child?
God,
what year was this?
It was 2022. So yeah, 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember you telling us.
I'm trying to think around the months. I can't remember. You why? Why?
I was just saying, I remember you telling us about the kid.
Oh, that was, yeah.
I remember everyone trying to tell me how to parent, all the parents that I worked with when I had my nephew for those 2 years. 2 of the most annoying things they used to do. One, this lady walks up to me random. She's like, hey, look, these are all these phone apps where you can find if he's hiding things on his phones. I was like, I don't want to see that. She's like, well, I was like, it's his job to hide shit from me. He's a teenage boy. That's his job. My dad knew I was hiding nudie magazines. He knew it. Okay. Yeah. That's his thing. And then, so one day, when I was a kid and I screwed up, my mom would come home and she'd say, the house is really clean. What did you do? I gotta soften the blow, right? I come home one day, my nephew's playing video games. He goes, Uncle John, I lost the phone. And he goes, I'm like, wait, time out. What do you mean you lost the phone? And so we found his phone. He took it out in school when he wasn't supposed to, and someone stole it. So this was like in November. Well, I'm at work and this is like March, and they're like, hey, your nephew's on the phone from school. And I talked to him. So the nosy lady, she goes, why did he call you from the school? I said, because he doesn't have a cell phone. I thought you got it back in November. We did. Well, why doesn't he have it? Oh, I don't know how it works in your house, but in my house, when you lose expensive things, you don't just get them back in a couple weeks. You're like, well, how would he get in contact with you? The same way he did. He'll go to the office and he'll call me. So that was one. And then the second one, my mom, she could not get this because my mom's first response was to hit. My nephew, I let his friend stay over one night, and it's like 12. He goes, can we play the PlayStation 4? I said, sure, but it's hooked up to the other TV. You have to move it to the other TV. He said, okay. He comes downstairs and he goes, Uncle John, we broke the TV. It was like my brand new 65-inch TV. I said, it's okay. Just make sure everything's cleaned up and go to sleep. So when he woke up, I dropped his friend off. We went to eat breakfast. And then I said, you want to go to GameStop? So while we're in GameStop, he looks weird. He's like, what is happening right now? And so we went to eat lunch that day. And I could tell he was like scared the whole day, like waiting for.
He's like,
I said, you're waiting for me to yell at you about the TV, aren't you? He's like, yeah. I said, why? I said, I told you could move it. I could have got up and moved it. I told you and your friend you could move it. You dropped it. You broke it. It's called an accident. You came downstairs when you told me, right?
What's important.
Now, my mom would have beat him because she was angry about the TV. I was mad about the TV, but that was an accident. I said, now, if you would have put the TV back and said nothing, and then 2 days later, I go up to the entertainment room, my TV doesn't work. And then I say, why doesn't my TV work? And you go, I don't know. There's only 2 of us in the house. Either I broke it or you broke it, right? And then that's when, and so some of them are like, no, you should have, that's expensive. I'm like, it's an accident. He needs to learn. And now when he does something wrong, he's never going to come talk to me because he's prepared for me to fly off the handle. Oh, look who it is.
Well,
what's going on, y'all?
How are you?
I'm all right. How about y'all?
I want y'all to inundate him with single dad questions because I'm going to tell him what impressed me about Jordan in our conversation last week as being a single dad. Because I don't know how I know guys are different from women. Women won't just bring any man around their child. And Jordan said, well, it's the same way from him. He doesn't just have women running in and out of the house because that's not something he wants to show his kids as an acceptable thing to do. So I've asked Taisha a whole bunch of questions about being a single woman, not a single parent, because she co-parents. What are some of your trials been with being a single father of 2?
Well, honestly, the trials and tribulations is just moms are so much softer, and they provide so much different a different energy when it comes to talking to the kids and all that. I'm very much straightforward, like I don't want to hear it, straight to the point kind of, and I'm the cool dad, so they just kind of want to play and hang out with me and like crawl all over me and shit. So that's really about it. For me, as far as trials and tribulations, the moms is the way she softs and engages, and the way they they'll listen to her in a heartbeat. So me, they just want to play around and shit.
You've never had to drop the hammer?
I've had to drop the hammer a couple of times, but not really, not really, because they kind of they hear like the booming voice maybe like once, and then they're just like, all right, I'm cool. So I just kind of give them the look, you know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of like, you better sit your ass down, and they gotta get in line.
Listen, my mom, I would sit down too.
Hell yeah.
Because Kevin Hart was right, Taisha. Dads, we don't like to get up. We're like, hey.
Exactly.
You better go get out of that toilet. I'm trying to tell you.
You're not be in that toilet.
Yeah, man.
So make me come back there. He's watching the game. He ain't coming back here.
And I didn't think I would be that kind of dad, but there are times where I am that, like, just yelling upstairs, like, what the hell are y'all doing?
What's something you learned not to do after the first one when you had the second one?
Oh man, Stop. Okay, so my oldest, so he wants to wrestle and everything like that. So I really had to tone that down with the second one and take things a little bit slower because they're completely different kids. My first one, he seemed when he first came out, he was very more like put together. Like he was 2, but he seemed like 3 or 4. The youngest one, he's his age to me, like, you know, he's 2, he's acting 2. You know what I'm saying? So it's like completely night and day difference. So it's definitely like, all right, got to take a step back and just like redo everything because this kid is not the same. So, so hell yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like 2 different personalities.
They're like, but the youngest just wants to be just like the oldest, but the oldest asked for the youngest, but doesn't want nothing to do with the youngest. So it's like, oh man,
yeah,
here we go.
Right? How it is.
Yeah.
That phase right there. That I want a little brother. I want a little brother. Please get this thing away from me.
Right. Exactly. I'm like, Amari, look after your brother. He's like, come on.
I didn't ask for this.
Come on.
I asked for it, but I didn't know what I was asking. I'm young. Why did you listen to me?
Right. You're the dad. I'm just like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, hell yeah.
Well, you also got to stop that wrestling too, because you know that's what you know. As he gets older, he's trying to get you.
Boy,
that's the dominance.
I'm trying to tell you. I'll be RKOing in the house. I'll be walking around. You never know when it's gonna come. It's just I got him.
I am very interested. I hope. I'm going to be friends with Taisha until I leave this earth. But I'm going to be very interested to see Taisha in the teenage years.
I'm scared for myself.
Gosh.
And Jordan, you're going to have 2.
Boy, I'm trying to tell you. I'm happy I got 2 boys, so it feels a little bit more.
You have a boy too, Taisha. Yeah. So it might.
Yeah, but I don't know because he's at that age where he talks back, he gets smart, and it's
so
like
hormonal too. I'm sorry, you guys are, and they blame it on the women and the young girls and the teenage girls, but y'all crazy. Whoa.
First of all, I moved out of my house at 14 because I got left with my mom and my sister and my other sister, and that was 3 women in the house, and it was driving me crazy. I remember my sister, when she became a teenager, her and my mom fighting like sisters. And I looked at my dad and I'm like, is this going to be us? And he's like, I will punch you in the face. I grew up in a neighborhood where I would see like every daughter, once they became teenagers, the mom and the daughter was just like at it. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah,
because the girls are emotional, but the guys are like Hawk in the making. It's like your guys is rage. Your rage is teenagers.
Hey, that might have something to do with the upbringing. I wasn't a rager.
We was out here smoking and chilling.
Brothers. And if I even looked at him a certain way, the Incredible Hulk came out. Why are you mad right now? Against the girls, we're just emotional about everything. Like,
Sydney, that also could be because there were a lot of you.
Yeah, that could be it.
That could be because there was a lot of you. It's like survival of the fittest for the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, my brothers are fighting. They get enraged over everything. I'm like, your hormones need to take it down a notch. And my 11-year-old brother's starting that now too. Why are you mad right now? He doesn't even know.
That might be something y'all want.
No, it's not. It's just like teenage boys. You guys would just get mad about things. Like, I don't know. Your hormones are crazy too.
That's anger issues. I don't know.
I wasn't an angry teen, but I am curious to see how these two are about to be when they hit teens. One's 9 and one's 4, so I'm good right now. But the 9-year-old's already catching attitude. So
maybe
I
want to know if they get mad.
It's the testing of the boundary to see what's my limit. Where can I go? Right?
Yeah.
And
so
that,
I think he's learning new words too, and he's trying to figure out how to use these new words. So sometimes he comes across with that attitude, and I'm like, "What the hell are you just saying?"
You know, it is adorable when they say something they're not supposed to say, but it's in a cute way. I remember when my nephew was like 3 years old or something,
but
and he walked across.
What? Because they're 3, John. 3-year-olds.
He walked across the room and he hit his toe on the coffee table and he goes, "Shit!"
Oh yeah.
You can't do anything but laugh.
Right.
You can't get mad.
Because you're like, I feel you, bro. I've hit that toe before.
Yeah. Now it's your
Oh,
13-year-old say it. Is that cute?
No, it's
Well, they
not,
know better
because
at that age.
Yeah.
They real comfortable.
he bucked up on me a couple times, of course, in the beginning, and I just had to give him this look like, is this really what you want to do?
Oh.
And then it's like, so this is, I mean, look, I wasn't going to do that thing where I overparent, because I think a lot of people overparent today. Like, there's so many people, they get 20 and they can't even function because their parent won't let them fail or anything. I used to get mad because I told him, even though we lived in a good neighborhood, stop leaving the door unlocked and stop answering the door. Every time somebody knocks on the door, he just opens it.
Hell yeah.
And so I sat him down and I showed him a child trafficking video, one of the worst ones I could find. I bet that door wasn't unlocked and he started using that peephole.
I think it's
fair.
smart.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, you just, my neighbor. Here's the thing though, and I can't, I don't know if yours is doing this now, because every time he did something, I'd call my dad and I'd go, was I like that? And he'd go, yeah. And I'm like, oh, because I'd come home and I'm like, hey, and I'd point at the trash can. He goes, I took out the trash. I'm like, well, what about the trash around the trash can? Well, you didn't tell me to do that. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You gotta be very detailed. You've gotta be.
You do. Every time I get into it with my son, my mom, she'll look at me and she'll go, that's your karma. It's like,
But the nieces would do it. It would just be with the nephews. I'm like, God, guys, we're dumb.
I realize I hate to say it, but my oldest lacks the common sense of everything. I'm just like, gosh, kid, what's going on? You take the trash out, but you don't put the bag back in it. I don't understand.
This is the one where I told my sister, don't worry, because he would do this thing where he'd go play basketball all day, then come home and fall asleep in his room. And the next day his room just freaking stinks. And I'm like, don't worry. As soon as he gets his first crush on a girl, you know, when he come up, hey, you got like, I need Axe. I need
deodorant.
Better put some water on that damn shit.
And then let me tell you, like, the brain just, I remember one day I was out of town for 2 days. And yes, in my family, we leave you home by yourself after you're a certain age.
Yeah.
And so I come home and my neighbor goes, your nephew is weird. I said, why? He goes, it was raining and he turned your sprinklers on. And I started laughing. And I said, I can already tell you what happened. I told him, make sure you water this lawn before I get back. And what he did was he stayed the whole weekend on the PlayStation, didn't water the lawn. And then something in his head goes, Uncle John gets here at 5. So it's 2 o'clock and it's raining. So his brain says, go out there and turn on the sprinklers.
Right.
It's watering my lawn while it's raining. Oh my God.
So funny. There's the common sense.
There it is. It's gone.
Right there. Yeah.
And then when she asked him back, Taisha, after like the second year, because she missed him, she's like, I miss my son. And I was like, okay. She's like, but if you want him to come back, I said, nope. Once you take him back, I'm back to buying my own shit.
Aw. Great.
Oh, man.
You definitely got your experience of parenting.
Well, I just learned some things not to do. I knew my nieces and nephews. My nieces and nephews, viewing them. That's when I learned that kids have different personalities. Like my niece, when she was younger, you could spank her all you want. You could yell at her all you want. It's not going to do anything. But if you tell her I'm disappointed, that's how you get to her. With my nephew, you could say you're disappointed all day long. You could beat him and yell at him all day long. But if you took things from him, that's what got to him. So it's like learning what effectively
works,
fixes things. Like the people who go, well, you just beat him. Okay, if I steal a cookie and you beat me, and then I take a cookie 2 weeks later, and then I take another one 2 weeks later, apparently that's not an effective tool.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Definitely got to take away stuff or time out. They hate time out. Like, go upstairs and you can't watch YouTube or TV or whatever. I killed that child.
You take my son's tablet, is the end of the world.
Oh yeah.
YouTube has changed the game for everything. I've noticed that. They don't care about cartoons. It's just, I want YouTube. I'm just like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
They want to watch kids play with toys. I'm like, what the
Exactly.
hell? Y'all got toys right there.
People make
We
fun of
just-
timeout. I feel like it's older people because I mean I grew up poor. Timeout meant nothing to me because I didn't have shit anyway. But now
Right.
they have so much stuff. Timeout is effective.
It
It's a
is.
big
Woo,
Yeah.
taking things away. Well, you couldn't take anything away in our generation. I don't know. For me, like, did anybody of you get soap in the mouth when you said bad words or things like that?
No, my
One time,
mom.
I did one time.
You did? No, my
did.
mom believed in fly
Sorry.
swatters and extension cords and belts.
All that
So,
too.
Oh, my mom believed in spankings for sure, and bare butt spankings too.
These weren't
And our
spankings.
timeouts was standing in the corner with books on our head.
These were not spankings. I've told my mom as a dog, look, you're my mom. I love you, I guess.
I got
But
soap.
that was abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got soap in the mouth. Like I remember saying a swear word one time, or I swore. My mom put soap in my mouth. I had to hold it there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are all.
in front of her at least.
And you love your parents, but it's like these are all. Soap is not meant to go in mouths. This is a terrible thing. Don't do that.
What they were taught back then. Like you think
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Like, nowadays, us moms be like, don't keep that toxic soap by our kids. And then Gen Z's even more. You know what I mean? Like,
look, you go to put your soap and just like, is that organic?
is it organic?
Oh shoot!
I'm so that
Nowadays,
person, y'all. I'm a vegetarian. I'm so that person. So I'm laughing at myself. Like,
shoot! Nowadays, I gotta worry about if he's vaping or picking up like stuff.
Ugh.
Like, oh my gosh!
If
Or the
I see
detergent,
one
the
more,
detergent.
if I see one more 7-year-old ordering a coffee at Starbucks, I'm gonna lose my mind.
How freaking old are you, man? What stress do you have? What
I
is-
swear to God, every time I go to Starbucks, there's some kid ordering himself a latte or something. And I'm like, what?
Crazy.
What is
Yeah,
going
I didn't
on?
even like that stuff. It was
What do
like
you even need
alcohol
that?
to me. It was just nasty.
when you're 7, you have all the natural energy you need.
Right.
He's
What?
coming in here with a 5 o'clock shadow. I need it. I need my caffeine. I need it. I gotta get on Fortnite. I gotta get up.
Oh my gosh, my brother too. He's 11. You pull away his Xbox, his Nintendo Switch, anything. Roblox. Oh, it's World War III.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I currently got my oldest doing chores to get a PlayStation 5. He's trying to save his allowance up to get it.
Good
I'm like, yeah, dude, you do what you do.
Good responsibility.
Just do what I tell you to do. Just do right. I don't
questions
say what
asked.
you want, buy what you want. Just do what I said. Just
Jordan does give me cool dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that too.
You guys do what y'all do.
You
Just
do
leave
what
me
y'all do.
alone.
Just
Just
like
leave me
you-
alone.
Vibes that with a daughter, she would get away with anything.
Oh my god, that's why I only make voice. If you know what I'm saying.
I'm like, Jordan, if you had a daughter, she would have you wrapped.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jordan's
Yeah.
like, do what you do. You bastards are gonna turn out how you turn out anyway.
Right. In a way, like, gosh, I will like I could tell my youngest something, and it'll go one ear and out the other. I'm just like,
Mhm.
gosh, he ain't listening. He gonna do what he wanna do.
Here's the good thing though. It is going in, but you know what? It does stay somewhere in here and it
Right.
comes back later. So you gotta
Yeah.
keep saying it.
Yeah.
'Cause
Like he had his first, my bad. He was talking about his first day of daycare this past week, and that was a big deal. I was a little nervous about how he was gonna act, but he did pretty good. He was pretty straight. Hell
Speaking
yeah.
of acting in school, I used to always love the parent that's like, not my daughter, not in school, and then they take them and show them the video.
Yeah. Oh god.
Not my
yeah.
angel.
Oh my God, yeah. Especially nowadays. Do you guys see some of the videos? I'm like, oh Lord, some of these kids.
Yeah.
It's so like I don't know. It's like
So
I want to
hard.
be torn about it because it's like sometimes the teachers and stuff
is.
they're inappropriate as
Both
well.
ways.
So it's like
Taishay,
And think about what
agree
the
with
kids deal with. Like now they have to do drills that are just insane. I mean, my
Yeah.
tornado drills look like nothing compared to what they go through now. And
I definitely agree with you, Taishay, on, we know kids are a-holes. We were kids. We know the kids that are a-holes, but we also know teachers that said things to us that they shouldn't have been saying,
oh yeah.
and then they know they could tell our parents and our parents would just, believe them and they
Yeah.
could be lying through their teeth or embellishing. I remember the one where my
Kids do embellish.
my nephew touched the teacher. He shoved her. And so of course when you hear them call and say your child shoved the teacher, you're like, Oh, hell no. So
Yeah.
I stopped my mom from going down there because I already knew it was going to happen. So I went down there, and so I asked questions. Well, what happened? Okay. My nephew is exactly like me, which is funny. He hates it because his mom reminds him of it all the time. If you tell him he did something he didn't do, he's going to be furious, right? And somebody was doing something, and the teacher thought it was him and said it was him. And he's like, "It wasn't me. Don't talk back to me." But it wasn't me. And he got a smart mouth to her. So she said, "Go to the office." So he slammed the desk down and he walked to the office. She said, and she's describing what he's doing. He slammed the desk and then he walked towards the door. When he got to the door, I grabbed him by his arm. I said, "Well, that's where you messed up." I was like, he's already frustrated. You've already yelled at him. You told him to go to the office. He's going to the office. Why'd you grab him? It was done by then.
Yeah.
Now you grabbed the wired up kid, and his reaction was to snatch her. So when she finally explained to me, he didn't push her. He snatched away. Yeah. And I'm like, and now he would have gotten a beating. But mom got there because she ain't going to ask these questions. And I'm like, don't put your hands on him. You kick
different context. Yeah, you put your hands on first. And I do agree with that. If she said go to the office and he's going to the office, why did you push him?
Right.
And some people say don't put your hands on him.
They
I'm like,
to provoke.
Yeah. And some people say, well, she shouldn't put his hands on him anyway. I said, no, I'm on to believe if she says go to the office and he ain't getting up. If she told me she grabbed him by the arm and took him to the door, I would have been okay with it.
Right.
But
he was already getting up. So that's, we have a lot of problems with that, you know?
It is important to ask questions. Don't just jump to conclusions and go off on the teacher or go off on the child. You have to ask questions to get the real side of it.
There's this story, and the truth. And that is real.
Yep.
My nephew is gonna do what you tell him. He might say a whole bunch of stuff under his breath that he ain't supposed to be saying, but he don't do it. Like, don't make him watch those dishes. He gonna talk shit on the way to wash the dishes, though.
You're gonna do them, though.
It's kind of like that.
You got to do them.
I let him have it. I'm like, talk your shit as long as you still walking towards the sink.
As long as you do it, go ahead and talk all the talk you want.
Right. All the talk you want.
Yeah.
Hits me with the, come on, like, relax. Come on, Dad.
You know what he never hit me with? And it's because he hates his father. His father's a piece of trash. But I was waiting one day for him to hit me with the, "Yeah, my dad." But I was waiting for that. But it never came, you know. And so
he respects you a lot.
Yeah. So we got the BS, the brilliant swag, the BS people. Logging in, Jordan. Go ahead and head over there, Jordan. I'll see you in a second.
Bye, Jordan.
All right, y'all.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to y'all too.
Yeah. We're about to go over terrible guy pickup lines. That's
Ooh.
Oh, I thank you guys for hanging out today and doing an episode because we won't be doing one for the next couple of weeks. So you guys get a little time. I'm going to California.
You're going to Cali?
Yeah, April 20th, and I'll be there till May 17th.
Okay. Have fun.
Yeah, enjoy.
It's a little So business and pleasure, all right?
I know that's right.
All right. Well, I hope y'all got some good parenting tips from us and how to be a single woman, not single parent if you're not just a single parent. I love that clarification. Yeah. Sydney, we hope that your Great Dane gets great.
Yes.
She's doing good. She's doing good.
And everything with that. Hope to see both of y'all's beautiful smiles back in a couple weeks. Everybody out there, enjoy your Friday night.
Good night.
Yes. Good night, guys.